So let's take a look at my 5-step process, the worry-free retirement. The first thing you do, I'll kind of draw a circle up here, you first need to clarify your vision. What this means is you need to sit down with somebody and say, okay, here is what I'm really looking for in retirement. Here's what I'm trying to do. And ironically, in this particular case where the person has to admit a husband to a nursing home, we had to go back and re-clarify the vision because now all of a sudden their retirement game plan is going to change. It's a fact of life. But this process is used to try to help understand what the next step might be. The next step in our process, we'll call this step 1 and step 2, is to assess your situation. Now this could be anything. Let's say you currently are looking to retire in 5 years. We're going to talk about an article on the next show about how many people in their 50s are getting laid off and they can't find work. Well, how do you assess your situation? How do you assess your current 401k? How do you assess the current tax laws and when to deploy this money? So a good retirement specialist understands that there has to be some method to the madness here. The third step is you have to commit, okay, to a game plan. So what we do in the worry-free retirement, we assess the situation and then we try to lay out a game plan that someone commits to. Let's face it, if you're not committed to trying to make things better or trying to work and learn, it ain't going to work. Let's take my son, for instance. Let's say he has a vision for a franchise. We assess the situation together and he realizes, I'm just using numbers out of thin air, I'll say, Anthony, that's fine, but you got to come up with $200,000. Whoops. He might say, I ain't committed to that, you know, and that's fine, but that's how you go through a correct decision-making process. The fourth thing you do is then implement the game plan, okay? And I love this with the analogy of the sports. That's fine. We can clarify a vision of what we're going to do. We can assess our opponents and what we have to work with. We can commit to winning the game in a certain zone defense, etc. But then the tough part, John, in any kind of sport or any type of financial endeavor is how do we implement this thing? And then finally, just like I had to do with the client recently that put her husband in the nursing home, we have to monitor our progress. What that means is we have to sit down on a somewhat regular basis. It doesn't have to be quarterly or annually. Generally, what I like to sit down and talk with people is when things have come up in their life that have changed, like the lady who's all of a sudden having to deal with nursing home, or like the person that gets laid off, or the person that loses a loved one, or just simply somebody maybe that took a huge hit in the stock market, or maybe they're getting to an age where they want to get out of the stock market. This is a good time to meet with an advisor, seek wise counsel, and monitor and see where you are. Now, if you don't have a game plan, if it's very chaotic, or maybe you're with some of these advisors that load you up with statements and make it complicated, the reason you're so worried is there's no way to monitor it. I mean, how do you monitor a 40-page document with short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains and all these mutual funds? That's why we stress for people that are savers on this show why you should consider what we call fixed annuities. We use these a lot in the retirement planning process. Why is that? Let's look at this and summarize just the example of a fixed annuity. First of all, savers love to have guaranteed income they can never outlive. They don't like risk. They want certainty. Fixed annuity does that. We assess people's situation and we find out that they don't have a pension plan in place. They don't have something that emulates granddad's retirement. A fixed annuity can do that. Finally, they can commit to fixed annuities because they're very certain. They don't change. They're easy to implement. You can put just about anything in a fixed annuity. Savings, checking can go in there, 401ks, IRAs, and finally they're very easy to monitor because there's not much change involved with a fixed annuity because you can't lose value with them.